If the thought of growing older secretly scares you, you're not weak. You're honest. Because there is a moment in life when a quiet realization arrives. People fade, friends drift, children grow busy, partners change, leave or become distant. Invitations slow down, the phone stays silent longer, and if your sense of peace has always depended on being needed, approved of, or surrounded, aging can feel like a slow psychological collapse. Immanuel Kant saw this coming centuries ago. While most people associate Kant with cold logic and rigid morality, his insight into human dignity is brutally compassionate. Kant believed that a stable life, especially in old age, depends on one radical shift, becoming a law unto yourself, not a slave to approval, not dependent on being useful to others, not emotionally governed by external validation. This is not about becoming isolated or bitter. It's about building an inner structure so strong that your well-being does not crumble when external structures weaken. For women especially, this is essential. Many women are socialized to derive worth from care, connection, and being indispensable. That works in early and midlife. But later, when those roles naturally change, the psyche can feel unmoored. Kant would say the suffering does not come from aging itself. It comes from having outsourced your center for too long. If this already resonates, pause for a moment. Subscribe to Inner Wise Woman and write love in the comments. This space is for women who want to age with dignity, depth, and inner authority, not fear. Kant believed happiness in later life is not accidental. It is constructed, quietly, daily, through principles that do not depend on circumstances. And these principles form 4 psychological pillars. The first one is uncomfortable but unavoidable. The first pillar is the ability to be alone without becoming miserable, not loneliness, solitude. Kant understood that sooner or later, every human being faces more time with themselves than with others. If your inner world is empty, chaotic, or hostile, that time becomes unbearable. People then cling, distract, or panic. They confuse constant stimulation with life. But solitude is not the enemy. Inner poverty is. A woman who cannot sit with herself in silence will age in anxiety. A woman who can become sovereign. Being alone without misery means you are not running from your own thoughts. You are not terrified of stillness. You do not need constant affirmation to feel real. This is not emotional coldness. It is psychological independence. Kant believed dignity begins when you no longer treat yourself as an object needing constant external confirmation, when your presence is enough to sustain you. This pillar takes work. It means cultivating an inner life, reflection, reading, contemplation, meaningful habits. It means learning to enjoy your own company without distraction, not to punish yourself, but to inhabit yourself. When this pillar is weak, old age feels like abandonment. When it is strong, old age feels like freedom. This is why some people grow calmer with age, while others grow bitter. The difference is not luck. It is inner preparation. And this is only the beginning. In the next part, we'll explore the second pillar, the one Kant believed protects the mind from chaos when the external world becomes unpredictable, order and daily rhythm. The second pillar Kant considered essential for a peaceful old age is something deceptively simple, order and daily rhythm, not ambition, not productivity, not excitement, rhythm. Kant himself lived by an almost legendary routine. He woke, worked, walked, ate, and rested at the same hours every day. People joked that you could set your watch by his afternoon walk. But this was not rigidity for its own sake. It was psychological protection. Kant understood something modern culture forgets. When external structures weaken, the mind needs internal structure even more. In early life, the world gives you rhythm. Work schedules, family obligations, deadlines, social roles. But as you age, those structures loosen. Retirement arrives. Children leave. Days become wide and unshaped. And without rhythm, the psyche drifts. Drift turns into rumination. Rumination turns into anxiety. Anxiety turns into despair. This is why so many people experience emotional decline after retirement. Not because they stopped working, but because they stopped organizing their inner world through time. For women, this can be especially destabilizing. Much of daily rhythm has historically been relational. Caring for others, responding to needs, adjusting schedules. When that scaffolding disappears, days can feel empty, even meaningless. Kant would say, the problem is not freedom. The problem is lack of form. Order is not control. Order is containment. A daily rhythm gives the psyche boundaries. It tells the mind when to engage, when to rest, when to reflect. Without it, emotions spill everywhere. With it, emotions settle. Kant believed dignity requires self-governance, and rhythm is governance in action. This does not mean filling every hour. It means anchoring the day with simple, repeatable acts, waking at a consistent time, walking daily, eating with intention, reading, writing, caring for your body, tending a small responsibility that belongs only to you. These acts may look insignificant from the outside, but psychologically, they are stabilizing rituals. They say to the mind, life is still held. You are still oriented. You are still participating. People often resist this pillar because they associate routine with boredom. But boredom is not caused by rhythm. It is caused by inner disconnection. A woman with a grounded inner life experiences rhythm as support, not restriction. Her days gain texture instead of chaos. Her energy stops scattering. Her emotions become more predictable, more manageable. Kant believed that happiness is not intensity, it is steadiness. This pillar also protects against one of the great dangers of aging, the feeling of uselessness. When your day has structure, you do not need an audience to feel relevant. You are relevant to yourself. And this is where Kant's philosophy becomes deeply psychological. Order is not about efficiency. It is about self-respect. When you keep promises to yourself, even small ones, the psyche relaxes. Trust builds. You no longer feel at the mercy of time. You feel in dialogue with it. This is why some older women feel quietly content, while others feel lost. One has rhythm, the other has drift. But even rhythm alone is not enough, because there is a third pillar, and Kant knew it would be the most painful to confront. This is the pillar that exposes why aging feels humiliating for so many people. It has nothing to do with health, nothing to do with money, and everything to do with approval. In the next part, we will face the third pillar, indifference to other people's judgment, and why freedom from it is non-negotiable if you want a happy old age. The third pillar is the one most people avoid their entire lives: indifference to other people's judgment. Immanuel Kant believed that nothing enslaves the human mind more quietly than the need for approval. In youth, approval feels like oxygen. In midlife, it feels like currency. In old age, if not confronted, it becomes a source of humiliation. This is why aging feels painful for so many people, not because they are weaker, but because they are still psychologically dependent. They still want to be admired, still want to be chosen, still want to matter in other people's eyes. And when the world naturally turns its attention elsewhere, the psyche collapses. Kant's clarity here is ruthless. If your sense of worth depends on how others see you, you will suffer as their attention fades. Peace in old age requires a radical internal shift. You must become your own judge. This does not mean becoming arrogant or dismissive. It means refusing to let other people's opinions define your inner equilibrium. Praise should not intoxicate you. Criticism should not destabilize you. Indifference, in Kant's sense, is emotional sovereignty. This is especially important for women. Many women are conditioned to be liked, agreeable, emotionally available, and socially pleasing. When aging removes the rewards for this performance, the cost becomes visible. Kant would say, the suffering is not caused by aging, it is caused by delayed independence. Freedom begins the moment you stop asking, how do I look? And start asking, am I living according to my own principles? Which brings us to the fourth and final pillar. The fourth pillar is fidelity to yourself, meaning through small, sacred acts. Kant did not believe meaning comes from grand achievements. He believed it comes from consistency with your inner law, from doing what aligns with your values, even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching. Old age becomes joyful when life is no longer a performance, but a practice. Small acts done with integrity create meaning that does not expire. Preparing a meal with care, keeping a promise to yourself, maintaining a value even when it costs convenience. These acts create dignity, and dignity is the deepest form of happiness Kant recognized. This is where many people go wrong. They wait for meaning to arrive from outside, from recognition, from legacy, from being remembered. Kant would say, meaning is not given, it is enacted. When these four pillars come together, solitude without misery, rhythm without rigidity, indifference to judgment, and fidelity to self, something profound happens. Aging stops feeling like loss. It starts feeling like release. You no longer fear being alone. You no longer fear being forgotten. You no longer fear becoming irrelevant, because your life is no longer held together by other people's attention. If this resonates, if you feel yourself shifting from dependence to inner authority, subscribe to Inner Wise Woman. This channel exists for women who want to age with clarity, strength, and self-respect, not fear. Kant's message is simple but not easy. Happiness in old age is built, not hoped for, and it is built inwardly. When you choose yourself early enough, aging becomes lighter. When you choose yourself late, aging becomes urgent. But it is never too late. Peace is not found in being needed. It is found in being whole.